They've been doing this in general since they did the time jump, but it was really prevalent in this season for me. Was Judith becoming the new Carl? That's always been a thing coming when the whole like Negan in prison thing, this and that. But for whatever reason, she was like, "I want to be like my brother Carl." I'm like, "You were fucking two, bitch." Like that stuff bothered me. I don't know. It didn't hold the same weight for me because we kind of know her and like we don't have the same emotional connection as we did to Carl and stuff like that. So it was very weightless to me whenever she was like, "Oh, I want to do this like my brother." Like, yeah, you're becoming the new Carl, but you're like, "I want to do it like my dad, like my mom, like Carl." Like, so the people that are dead or just down on the show, you want to be like them, and you're the one that. No offense to her, it's just how her character is, and the one who holds the least amount of weight for whatever you're trying to do. I just didn't like that.
I would say. Just be fair, like you can call it whatever you want. Nobody wants to see a little girl doing a bunch of zombie killing, like and like being in dangerous situations. That's not me. That's just society. Like no, like she couldn't be Carl because it's cool when a little boy does it. Nobody like she's a little princess. Nobody wants to see her.
And she hasn't been she wasn't in the muck like how Carl was.
Yeah, and grew up. You know what I mean? Where like she grew up in like a real town. But either way, it's just like she's younger and smaller than Carl was, and Carl more so like. They said he was just bigger. He was a boy, and she's a little tiny girl just because you gave her Rick's hat.
Yeah.
And she knows how to shoot that little 22, and she's got fucking needle or whatever the fuck it is.
357.
It's like that's really those scenes don't work out like they wouldn't work the same as like when Carl did it, where Carl shows up to Negan's compound and shooting people like. Let's insert Judith. Like that would have been lame as hell if Judith did that. Like
the age was wrong because like the age she is now is like the first few initial seasons of Carl, like in the comics. We're gonna go with the comics. That's how they're trying to do it. Because I mean, Carl was getting older, but even then, who cares? He killed him off for a different reason. But again, make sure to tune in for that episode because we're gonna be breaking down a lot of stuff. Walking Dead's gonna be a really good episode, guys. I'm really excited to do that. But in the comics, it's like. From day one to like the prison around that time. After the prison, they're on the road a lot. Pretty much before or it was after Governor, right before Negan, I think. Around that time, he was like around Judith's age for that time. Obviously, you aged throughout the fucking comic, but he was a kid at that time. And then Negan came around. I believe he was in his 14, 15. We'll push it to 16. It's 14, 15. And then Whisperers came. He was like 16 to 18 around that time. But Judith is young. So like the age they have her at is like
she can't be Carl.
It can't. Carl can't even be Carl at that age for this plot. Like it doesn't make sense.
And again, it's a fucking 8-year-old girl. Nobody wants to see like. It just isn't gonna look right. Her doing anything in the middle of an apocalypse. Yeah. Where all the bad guys are adults. Like
I hated that.
It kind of makes sense sometimes when it's a 16-year-old boy. Like, that's basically your man. Like you're an adult. Like especially in a
survival scenario.
Yeah, survival scenario. You are a man. Like she is just a little girl. I felt they thrust her into it. It's like I feel like if they wanted her to been in it, they should have had Michonne in it because then she could have been on her hip. But like Daryl isn't the type to bring Judith with him. Like the only reason at the end is because they had to.
Yeah.
But she basically would just be at home because there's nowhere for her to be. So like you said, like there was no build up to it. So when she's in these serious scenes, it's like, bitch, you've been at home the whole time. Like,
because even that time jump, what was she just been chilling in accident? There was no war.
And it's like the only thing sad about her getting shot is like, oh, that's Rick's daughter. Yeah. Like she ain't even got no skin in the game. Like she had like one little scary scene where fucking the zombies almost get her in Aaron's basement or whatever, but it's like
that was a cool scene.
That was in general that whole time. That was a pretty cool little thing. But like I said, fine, do some shit like that. But like this thing where you're inserting her into the main storyline where like
you haven't built it.
She was in a gunfight like in the middle of a train station when she fucking pushes Daryl out of the way to save him. Like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, exactly, stop it. What 8-year-old girl's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna take the bullets. When she like, what the fuck is going on?
I didn't like that.
No, I didn't either. It was stupid. Like, I know you were saying like, oh, it's foreshadowing for Carl, but at least Carl was like a dude was shooting a deer and shot him.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna go into. Is like, so with Carl compare and contrast real quick. I don't want to give all my points away, but compare and contrast is like Judith the whole time has pretty much been Alexandria. So for majority of her life, most of her life, she has been safe in the zombie apocalypse, and her mom Michonne would take her out and her dad would take her out too, probably.
Well, there's been a couple
to
times
learn.
in the recent seasons where Alexandra fell, and
But recent.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is
Yeah.
the gap years where we didn't see. So I'm just going off her character. So for like 10 years, she was fine.
yeah.
And then Carl, day one, all the way up to Alex, he's been fighting. Like, they didn't have shit for
Yeah.
a long time. So he had to learn that way. That's why age better. That's why it makes sense for him, because he understands it more. And Judith
And he was
only
getting trained by
yeah.
Shane, and he was at the age where he was Rick's understudy.
Yeah.
Where, like, again, in a survival situation, back closer to not modern times, when you're 13, 14, you follow your dad at the hip, and you become what he is.
Yeah.
And Rick was a savage, so
Yeah.
his son was going to be a
Season 5
savage.
Rick,
Like,
guys. Crime. But yeah, that I didn't like. This shit hold weight. And then you brought this up, and I did agree with this. Let me say this first. I think it would have been better. Judith's narration, I didn't like that at all. It would have been better if it was either past characters or any current older
whoever they were
character.
doing it about.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it was weird, like, Judith telling a bunch of narrations of shit she wasn't even there for.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Again, like, for a character they created in the show, like, they were trying to give her too much screen time.
Yeah,
It was like,
especially for like the last few episodes. That's what confused me. Is like they had her around for a good amount of time, but they never really built with her.
yeah,
I would have remembered.
that's what
building
I
with
was saying.
stuff,
Like,
but
you've
now
been
we got to build
final
with her.
season, she's gonna be in the final episode. She's gonna be in it. She's been sitting in Alexandria the first freaking 20
Yeah.
episodes. She had one episode where they were in the house and the zombies got in. That
Yeah.
was it, where she was a part of it. Like, all the rest of them, she was just in the Commonwealth, being a normal kid, and like doing that stuff. Like,
Yeah, that just it was not hitting for me, and because they didn't build it properly. Like I said, they were so focused on these spin-offs, and that's what also ruined this series for me too. Is like what you said earlier. Is like, all right, we're gonna watch it, but we know
Negan
this
can't
guy,
die.
this guy, this guy.
We know
this guy
Maggie can't die.
Yeah.
We know Daryl and Carol aren't going to die at
Yeah.
the time, because at the time they were